Okay, this week, folks, I'm officially a PhD in nutrition.
PhD! What did you go to college?
I got an honorary doctorate through a college in London.
Wow. You didn't have to go to London?
No, it was email and correspondence. And they accepted both of my books as my thesis and dissertation.
Both which
and they
books?
gave me magna cum laude.
Wow.
Not summa cum laude, magna cum laude.
Wow.
I thought I deserved. But what they did was, my grades were low on the English because they have their different ideas about English. So my B's were in English.
You want to take names for that? So what's it going to do?
Yes.
So what's it going to higher price?
Well, it just means that I can flaunt my stuff now, and have credentials and go before Congress and stuff like that. And I don't have to have an MD, backing me now. So.
That's a great sign.
Qualify you as an expert with me.
That's right, absolutely.
Can you put PhD after your name now?
Yes, PhD.
Great.
PhD nutrition.
Wonderful.
Most people just put PhD, but I would put PhD nutrition.
How many years does it take?
40 years.
40 years.
You work slower.
40 years? Because they base it on the life experience, and then they test you on the normal curriculum that's in there. So I had to test for every curriculum to make sure that I knew the information. So it was like having a battery of tests for a year. Well, about 9 months, a battery of tests. So normally you go to school and you learn, and you take maybe a test a week, test every 2 weeks. Well, it was 6 tests a day.
What was the curriculum that you were tested on?
Everything: chemistry, nutrition, food, and everything. Oh yes, I'm worth $1,000.
I just saw this article that was written on the Pasteur versus Duchamp stuff, and I thought it was really interesting because I've only heard of it through you guys, but it was through this health organization. They do everything from iridology to all the typical considered alternative healing stuff, and they had a really nice article written with it. With the whole, what's the thing where you get bit by a mosquito and Lyme disease?
That's the tick.
Lyme disease and malaria. And it was nice to see that there are other people in the health profession that acknowledge that there are 2 different philosophies, and they actually even said that that Western medicine decided to go with the Pasteur philosophies, and
because there was some chemicals they can sell.
Yes, exactly.
About selling
and they kind of touched on that a little too. It was nice.
Is there a Janus article?
Janice?
Janison?
Janison?
Jamison.
Jameson?
Jamison. Okay.
Going to talk about a little about everybody's, being alarmed with this avian flu.
Yeah.
It's a hoax.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
which flu?
Bird flu.
Avian flu.
I don't have a clue.
Bird flu.
Avian flu.
Does anybody remember? I don't know if everybody old enough remember the swine flu in the mid-70s, 76?
I remember.
Ford gets on there. And who's our vice president at that time?
Bush.
David Rockefeller.
No.
How many pharmaceutical houses did he own?
A few.
5. Got Ford to go on, take the swine flu shot. Ida Honoroff, a consumer advocate that was franchised on radio in about 80 markets in the United States, and a Dr. M.D. McBean, both women, filed suit against Ford, against Rockefeller, and against the federal government and the medical officer of the government,
Surgeon General?
the Surgeon General, saying that the swine flu was a hoax, that it was going to kill a lot of elderly and children, because what Ford did at the behest of Rockefeller, he bought $8 billion of the swine flu vaccine to give us. So McBean and Eineroth, with the publicity that they got from that suit, the networks at that time and the radio stations weren't all owned by big conglomerates at that time. So they advertised it. They were there at the polls where people were getting their injections. The first week, 2,300 people dropped dead within 3 days of having the swine flu. So $7.2 billion went into the vaults. And then popped to present day.
Well, wait a second. Did you say they got sick after they dropped dead after they had the injection?
Yes, after they got the swine flu injection.
Okay.
So they stopped doing it.
So they stopped doing it. So $7.2 billion of the vaccine was left and went into the vaults.
Don't tell me that's what they're giving now.
That's what they want to give. They're pulling it out and relabeling it as Avian flu.
Oh my God.
Oh, God.
Not only that, is we already paid for it once, and Bush comes out and says we're going to pay $7.2 million for this vaccine. We're going to double, pay them twice.
Who's going to pay them?
And they're going to pay a pharmaceutical house just to take it out of the vaults, relabel it, and issue it to us.
But they have to refile.
But who's paying what?
The government is paying.
The government is paying for you to have a shot.
Yeah, it's refiled.
Because all they have to do is
Out of our
test it
tax
for
money.
sterility.
Oh, and
What's
tax
it going
money
in
is
it?
going
This
into
one?
that.
What's it percentage?
Well, you have to understand a virus is not alive. It's not a bacteria. It's not a parasite. Virus are protein bodies that are made as solvents intercellularly. When the cells do not have a bacteria or a parasite to eat the degenerative waste that is accumulated intracellularly and sometimes extracellularly, it will make a solvent to dissolve those compounds. There are over 500,000 viruses because viruses are very specific solvents to dissolve very specific tissue intracellularly. And, you know, the medical profession and scientific community says, oh, we see this virus that's tearing apart the cell. But if it's not out of its proper environment, it rebuilds properly. It's a detoxification. But in their petri dishes, it doesn't do that. It doesn't heal because they're not feeding it properly. It's not in the right environment. All viruses are retro. They're recombinant immediately within 48 hours. The virus does not look the same because a cell does not need a virus to dissolve that kind of tissue for more than 48 hours. So any virus vaccine that they make was obsolete 6 months before it's on the market. It's obsolete in 2 days. So the whole vaccine immunization programs that are out there are all a hoax. They're all for money making. And they will harm you. They've got thimerosal, aluminum, formaldehyde, at least those three elements in all of them. And you know they're allowed to put those, formaldehyde is an absolute no-no in any food or anything like that. Anything that goes in the body, it is illegal. So is mercury, except in aluminum is allowed. But mercury and formaldehyde are not allowed in anything, any kind of food, as any kind of preservative. But yet the FDA gives the pharmaceutical houses permission to inject that into us.
Concentrated, injected.
Concentrations, yes.
FDA? The FDA gets Permission?
The FDA gives permission
Oh, this permission.
to the pharmaceutical houses to poison it. So a lot of people are saying, I issued an email about Senate Bill 1873 and House Representative Bill, was it 3909, something like that. And they are about absolving the pharmaceutical industry of any harm done by vaccines.
Great.
Yep. And 3903 is about forced vaccines. It means they can tell us to take this swine flu this avian flu, which is really the swine flu
I'm
vaccine.
surprised they're not doing it already.
They are in schools.
Oh, they are in schools, yeah. But there's an out. With that bill, there would be no out for anybody. However, they do not have the legs and the bodies to enforce it. They'll use it to scare people, and most people are afraid, and they will do it.
Right.
Just like there's a lot of parents, probably there's half the parents in schools that don't want to give vaccines, but they give them because they're not told that there is a waiver on the back of that form that they sign that says they don't have to take it if they object. And that's in 16 states. And California is the easiest. Some states you have to, it has to be on grounds of religious belief or medical, medical, whatever it is. But most people are just going to be afraid, and they're going to accept the vaccine and get sicker in their lives. Now, when I look into the iris, most of the time I find the mercury stored in the stomach lining. The aluminum stored in the intestines. So every time you eat a food, the mercury dumps into the stomach, into the food. Then you digest that food, and it poisons the small intestines, sometimes the large intestines, and then moves out with your food to poison your whole body. So it's slow poisoning. Now, not everybody does a store in the stomach. I would say it happens in about 25% of the people I see. It stores in the stomach. And there are people that hadn't had vaccines since they were children. And they are just now getting to the point where there's no more in the stomach, but it's all in the intestines. So it's damaged the intestines. And the people that are, over 50 are ending up with symptoms of Crohn's disease or completely malabsorption because of the mercury.
How do you find that where the mercury is? How can you tell if it's in the stomach or in the
In the iridology, I look in the iris.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's called iridology. It's a study of the iris that shows the iris is set out into patterns of the body. And then you know where they are, and you just search in the iris.
Well, I still don't get the difference between the mercury, the bad mercury, and then when you eat raw fish, the mercury that's in that.
Well, that's a different subject.
Oh.
Okay, so let me finish with that. You say that for Q&A.
No, I got another one, so we'll
Okay.
let that one go.
Well, if anybody wants to ask that one,
That's the lecture part and then the
You can
Q&A
take
after.
mine.
Yeah, right.
You can take my one.
Okay.
Okay, so what I recommend that people do who have that kind of malabsorption or digestive problem when it's related to mercury, that they have to eat cheese with everything. Now, cheese, as long as it isn't mixed with honey, directly with honey, will not be absorbed. It is a dry, enzymeless food, even if it's raw and unsalted. So it's going to act like a magnet as it goes through the intestines. And it's going to draw toxic substances, heavy metals, anything that's concentrated in minerals. And remember that the body uses calcium as the major binder of toxicity because it's in high amounts. But it can use all kinds of minerals. But cheese is high in the calcium. So when it's traveling through the intestines, and as the lymphatic, the neurological, and the blood flows through the intestines. If there's enough mineral magnetism from the cheese in there, it'll pull those poisons out of those three fluid systems and into the intestines, arrest it, and pass it throughout the feces. If you eat honey directly with that cheese, you've added the enzymes which will make that cheese a food. Now, let me give you an example. There are a lot of people that eat a lot of cheese. They won't put on much weight or any weight, except that frees up for digestion. I had one girlfriend from New Zealand that loved honey and cheese together. And she was a skinny model, and I mean ultra skinny. In 1 month, she put on 40 pounds. She would eat a pound of cheese a day with a cup of honey. And if you ate that much cheese without eating honey with it, you wouldn't absorb it, wouldn't utilize it in your system. She was very skinny and she needed it.
What about with the butter? I'm sorry.
The butter does not do that. The butter does not provide enzymes for utilization of the cheese.
You can do the cheese.
Cheese and butter together, especially if you have constipation. But if you want to really get rid of constipation, now I suffered constipation for 57 years. Just in the last year I've not had constipation. The constipation changed, as I got, as the more vaccines I got, the worse my, and antibiotics, the worse my digestion got. And after that bout with peritonitis, it was misdiagnosed as appendicitis at 12 years old, where I got all of those injections. I went every 3 to 4 days after that, and my bowel movements were always as big as my fist. So they always tore me. I always bled at least a tablespoon of blood, at least a tablespoon. Sometimes, 3 or 4 tablespoons of blood. And by the time I reached 22, my rectum was about 12 layers thick of fibroids, scar tissue. So when I went on a raw food diet, it didn't reverse that damage completely. I was moving every day, but still it would bunch up at the rectum or in the sigmoid colons. When it passed out, it would still pass out very large. It wasn't like granite anymore, like cement, and scratchy, but it still would rip me. So when I got the tapeworm last year, all of my constipation went away. I had no more constipation. My bowel movements are never larger than my thumb, thicker than my thumb. So it's a pleasure. Pardon?
You sold the one?
Yeah, from the tapeworm. Yeah.
Wow, you sold the one.
So you want a tapeworm?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Parasites are very good. And you take, I mentioned it in the recipe book, the, what's his name, Joel Weinstock, who's a gastroenterologist at the University of Iowa. 15 or 16 years ago, noticed that the pigs at the university were very unhealthy, not digesting well, and getting colds and flus all the time. So he tested their intestinal tracts and everything, and found that they had no trichinosis, no whipworm. So he checked all the pigs in the farms, and they all had trichinosis. So he took the pigs from the university and put them out in the slop house with the other pigs. They got trichinosis and got well. Okay, so he says they were too clean. So he got the idea that, if anybody knows about inflammatory bowel syndrome, IBD, it's a very, very serious intestinal disease where if you eat or drink anything, even water, you get intestinal cramps that immobilize you. And it's a life thing. They go through the whole lives with it. So he went to the FDA to get permission to give 6 of his patients, they had to clear them, 6 patients, trichinosis, the whipworm from the pig, to see if that would relieve their inflammatory bowel syndrome. So they gave him permission to do it. So, and the people had to have suffered 10 years with medical help without relief, at least 10 years. So his patients were from 10 to 32 years sufferers of this disease. So he gave them the whipworm, infused it into their intestines.
Is that like a tapeworm or whipworm?
Whipworm are very, very tiny ones. Tapeworm is long, like a noodle. Lynx, mini lynx. But intestinal parasites are very helpful as long as they're needed. And of course, my body has needed it all those years. So he gave it to those 6 patients, and in 5 days, 5 of the 6 patients were completely symptom-free. Digesting everything was good, hardly any gas anymore, no pain whatsoever, just a little gas. So one wasn't affected by it, didn't change his system, but 5 it did. And then 5 months later, because they were eating the same garbage, they were back knocking on Dr. Weinstock's door for more parasites, more trichinosis. And we're taught, how many times do we hear, trichinosis, from pigs, it's awful, it's awful, it's awful.
Should we eat pork?
Where did you get your worm from?
Well, I forced mine to a milk detoxification. And I'm going to talk about the detoxification. What I did was I took raw milk and I fermented it, in a cupboard during the summer, a very hot time. It was so full of alcohol that it burned my nose when I opened it. And I also put a little maca root in it because it's very much like cereal.
Where do you get
And
that?
I ate tremendous amounts of cereal with my milk as a child. And I always, when I got out of it, I left home at 16, got married at 16, so I would eat 2 boxes of cereal a day, with a half a gallon of milk. So I wanted the combination because I knew that that's a lot of what my body was built of at the time. And I'm experimenting for my detox book. So I drank a whole 3 cups of that in a 24-hour period. My God, did I have diarrhea, and I went to a heavy detox. My hip bones were always large, and when I would start developing in, adolescence, my hip bones developed like a woman, so I was on very small shoulders, big hips, so they always called me a woman, and when I got fat, it was all this way, and I was small up here, I was the Jewish pear. So, Jewish on my father's side, Catholic on my mother's side. So much guilt in my family, I used to have to go to the accountant and rabbi before I go to the priest. So the tapeworm came about because of all they mainly feed on sugar. You notice the third world countries where all these people have tapeworms and they're mainly children, it's when we're giving, from the World Health Organization, we're giving all this garbage cereal. We're paying Kellogg's and all these companies billions and millions of dollars to, donation of these, or they're paid, they get the donations, they pay these companies to give this garbage food, these garbage cereals to these children in these third world countries, and they end up with tapeworms. The tapeworms are there to eat that excess sugar because you have acrylamides and you have advanced glycation end products that they feed on. And there's a team of scientists who are full professors in Sweden who found that 60% of all tumors were made of acrylamide. And acrylamides come from fried foods, potato chips, all chips, cereals. And they felt that all those foods should be outlawed. They all lost their tenureships within 3 months after giving that information to the press, because you're talking about a trillions of dollar industry. And these professors and scientists have done their work for 12 years and confirmed everything.
They
Before they did it.
couldn't work.
They had to go to teach grade schools and high schools. And these were tenured, very brilliant full professors, all of them. So anyway, the tapeworm feeds on those excess sugars. So I forced a tapeworm because all microbes are part of every animal cell. They don't come from the ground or the dirt or somewhere else. They are part of every animal cell. And if you need them and you aren't poisoned so much with antibiotics, your body will breed a particular bacteria or parasite to help you get well. It's a symbiotic relationship we've had for millions of years. Chemicals we've had only for the past, 130 years. If you were a rich person, you had access to many chemicals even 10,000 years ago, even as a pharaoh. But you look at all of your children, and the history of children who all came from very elite, rich people, they were always the weakest because they had doctors treating them with chemicals all the time. Your farmer kids and poor kids grew up strong and healthy because they were never subjected to that chemistry. Poisoning of mercury and formaldehyde and bloodletting and all of that stuff that creates and deteriorates the whole the health of the and construction of the system. So that tapeworm has been a blessing to me. But since my rectum, it's like a woman having a baby, unless her vagina comes down again, it's very large. So my rectum is very large, used to these big things. So sometimes I wonder if I could, make it to the bathroom because those muscles are not used to small feces. They're used to very large feces. So, sometimes I wonder if I'm going to make it to the toilet. And instead of having one huge movement, maybe this long, not literally, I've had movements on a regular basis this long and that big. And I mean, you see me going to the toilet before, it was, and that I would be very entertaining to watch on the toilet in those days. Now I just sit there, wow, it's all over and it's clean, but I'm on the toilet 4 or 5 times a day instead of one big massive dump. But that's all an adjustment. But it's been very favorable not to be having my rectum ripped and bleed every time I go to the bathroom. Literally every time I went to the bathroom for 57 years. So,
do you see
the last 8 years. Pardon?
Do you see the head of the worm sometimes?
No. They look like noodles. They come out in sections about this long, anywhere from an inch to an inch and a half. And they look like a flat noodle, like you cooked it al dente.
The head's still in you.
No, I've never seen the head. But last year, 3 months after I got it, I started. 6 weeks after I got it, when I first noticed some sections, I started craving onion, and I just ate a half of an onion in one sitting, and then I went to the toilet the next morning. Out came 36 feet of tapeworm.
They didn't like onion.
Pardon?
They didn't like
Obviously. So I went, oh no. It took me so long to get a tapeworm. After the chemo and radiation, I was so sick, so contaminated, no bacteria. It was 36 feet. I pulled him out and measured him.
Oh my God.
So there's different
What
ones.
color is
But, that'll stretch 100 feet. You have to take them out and lay them gently because they stretch.
So there's the little worms and then there's the big tapeworm.
Yeah, there's a long,
Two separate
big
things.
tapeworm. Yeah, they're 2 different worms.
I had like
Trichinosis are very small little whipworms.
So you want the trichinosis, but do
Either
you
one.
want the
The
tapeworm?
trichinosis is better.
If your body needs it.
Pardon?
If your body.
If your body needs it,
Right.
yeah.
Can't you,
And I don't know anybody who doesn't need it.
can't you contaminate others, though, with your feces?
Are they going around eating it?
Yeah.
Well, toilet seats.
No, you can't get it from the toilet seat.
That's what the book says.
That's a lie. I tried to get worms many times. I tried to eat them and infuse them, and I could never get them. The way Joe Weinstock did it was he put it in Gatorade. Gatorade. And they drank it in Gatorade. Gatorade is an alkalizing substance. So it completely neutralized the hydrochloric acid. So it didn't destroy the eggs as they drank the eggs from the whipworm. So they were able to breed in the intestines. That's how he did it. Now, I never thought of that. Now, if somebody, says, it says they want a whipworm or something, I say, get the small intestines of the pig and wash it down with some vegetable juice, an alkalizing fluid like that. And I've suggested for quite a few people that have had some serious diseases, and it's working fine. I've still got another year of experimentation before I'm, satisfied with how many people that I've worked with. But it's working very well. What makes you decide? I mean, if you have them all of your life and they help you, who cares?
The doctor, when you go into a doctor's office, they care. Because if you pick them up, you're in trouble. Because they're going to get
They can't pick them up.
or something.
That is a fiction. It's a myth. Show me any documentation that proves that you can pick it up off of the toilet or anywhere else.
No, what I'm saying is if you go to a regular doctor and they test you, and you diagnose that they will treat you with flagyl or with one of the antifungal disease.
Right, well, they'll give it to you to take, yeah.
It's the law. They have to do that.
I know. That's the AMA law, definitely is. But that doesn't mean it's good for you. The flagyl, the poison isn't good for you. The whipworm and the tapeworms are.
No, my point is, working in clinics and stuff, I see that the patients have to do that.
Yeah, I know.
Or they can be reported to the law. That's what's so scary.
So you just don't go ahead and check for parasites.
That's all.
In fact, you stay away from doctors altogether. Dentists is, or you break a bone and it's dislocated, then you want to have somebody who's a professional and that put it back together. But doctors, MDs, are not professionals of health. They are professionals of disease and chemicals. That's all they know. So they're not people. It's like, would you go to the guy who's flopping hamburgers at Jack in the Box to learn how to be a millionaire? Or you go to somebody like, Donald Trump. So if you want health, you don't go to an MD.
Who do you go to?
You go to food.
Yeah.
Somebody who knows how to,
I know,
how the food affects the body. Go to my books.
Do you know professionals of health for referrals?
Pardon?
Do you know professionals of health for referrals? The consultant wouldn't to get care for these kinds of things? Or broken bone? For example,
No, if you have a broken bone, you can just go to any bone specialist. There are a few of them out there, quite a few.
Would they do it without a cast?
Without x-rays?
Not cast.
Without
Cast
x-rays,
them.
you
No,
say?
cast them.
No, don't usually want to put a cast on
You
it.
need to get up yourself.
Yeah, if you want to. Because
You
the
have to
body
what?
will build its own cast.
But how do they have to take x-rays, you say?
Well, when I was in the automobile accident in Thailand, and this kid hit with a bigger SUV than I was in, hit his broadside. I was in the back. There were 3 seats. Here's the passenger and driver, and then the second passenger seat, and then I was in the third in the back. And hit us so hard sideways, the car flipped over 3 times. And my head went through one of the windows, completely knocking it out. Had shards of glass in my skull. Knocked part of the skull bone in about 1/4 of an inch. Broke my clavicle and collarbone. You still see the lump here.
It hasn't healed yet?
Oh, it's healed a lot.
Oh,
But this thing was as big as a softball. Half of a softball. Pardon? Yeah, that was 4 months before that. And I went to the hospital. I woke up. When I awakened, I went unconscious. When I awakened 40 minutes later, the car is upside down. They're trying to jackhammer open the doors, and they can't get the back doors to me. and the real estate agent who was with us, who was about 27 years old, she was laying across on top of me, bleeding out the head like crazy. And they were trying to get us in because all the other people had gotten out, a monk and 2 other people and the driver. So they got all of them out, but they couldn't get to us. And this guy takes a fire hammer, and he's going to bash this window out that's this far from my head. And I started freaking out when I woke up. I saw him coming, there was one guy jackhammering over here, and I knew that I was going to be in trouble. So I started yelling, and I realized I was in so much pain and so dizzy. But I kept scooting myself out, toward the one door that was cracked open about this much. And I was scooting out, and when they picked me up to get the pain here was excruciating, and I passed out again. I mean, everything just went blurry and black. Time was like one of those weird dreams, that I was in different times and different spaces and everything. But I knew that if I went to the hospital in that kind of condition, they'd had me on machines and tubes and everything. So they put me on a gurney, strapped me down, strapped my neck and everything in case it was I had a broken neck. And it was excruciating pain because I couldn't be in any position without this shoulder hurting so badly. So I got to the hospital, and I knew if I were on a gurney, they would not take me seriously. So I said, I have to get off this gurney and I have to get into a wheelchair. I want a wheelchair. So I got into a wheelchair, and it was such a relief because when I put the arm on the wheelchair, most of the pain in here, it subsided to the point where I could tolerate it, where I wasn't just dealing with pain. It was pretty severe. And I knew that it could have been dislocated, out of position. So I said, you get 2 x-rays from here and from here, or here and from the back. But that's all you get is 2 x-rays, because they'll usually do 10 to 15 x-rays in a situation like that. So I said, you get 2 shots at it, and that's it, make it good. So they did, and they saw everything. I mean, even though my collarbone had gone all the way through, gone through my neck and back, it snapped right back into place. So, yeah, so I didn't have to have any surgery or anything. And when you've got a cast like this, it changes the position of that bone, so they couldn't put a cast on me. So they just had a brace that they put on. And as soon as I got out of it, the brace came on. So my body built its own cast here. So this was the size of a hardball, half of a hardball. And it just keeps going down. It's been a year and a half since the accident. So it's getting smaller and smaller. But your body will create its own cast, if you allow it, which is much stronger than any kind of a cast, and it will heal more properly. Because they said that I would never be able to move this arm again like this. I would never be able to hold it up to my head again, and that would be it. So, and within 4 months, I was painfully moving it like that, but I could move it like that. And after a year, no pain whatsoever. And that was when I stayed there. Okay, now we're going to get into Q&A. You have a question, Louis?
Yes. Probably a good question about supplements for everyone to hear it. Every now and then, even those who are conscious about natural food talk about, just for extra insurance, like if you don't eat enough fish, take a couple of fish liver oil tablets, for instance, things like that. The insurance syndrome. I'd like to know, does that make any sense, or are supplements harmful even if you are eating less than optimal?
Well, if you're eating cooked foods, you're destroying enzymes, you're destroying the vitamins, you're cauterizing your minerals, so you're going to lose at least half of everything. Plus, you're going to have toxins that are formed that your body has to use good nutrients to eliminate it, or neutralize it and then eliminate it. So a lot of nutrients lost to cooking foods. So, of course, people want a supplement for that. But going to a vitamin supplement, if you know the chemical structure of supplements, it's the most absurd thing in the world. Take, for example, vitamin C. Vitamin C under a high-powered electronic microscope are these cute little fuzzy balls. And they're different colored, and they're very, little spongy little things. You look at ascorbic acid, they are 1,000 times the size of these little spongy things, and it looks like broken glass. They are glass, and they will go in and rip the system to pieces. Now, what does that do? It creates a toxic effect that causes adrenaline and other hormones to produce fats to go in there and harness this stuff. That forces a healing reaction in some people, but it's robbing from Peter to pay Paul. It's like slapping somebody to get somebody to do something, to give them energy. Let's say, the kid's lying there. Daddy, I got no energy to sweep the porch. Bam! Get up and sweep. Then your adrenaline's going, you got to get up and sweep the porch because you're going to have energy. But that's not a good way to do it, because that kid's going to come around and slap Daddy one day. And there's a whole loss of humanity that goes along with that. The same violation occurs in the body. 99% of all vitamin E is from Kodak and Fuji. It's the end product of developing film. It's a chemical that's the end product of it. Because the structure, the molecular structure of that chemical, once expended for developing, looks 80% like D-alpha-tocopherol. A scientist came up with the idea, wait a minute, we can sell this to the FDA, we can sell it to, people as this is vitamin E. And that's like saying, oh, this plastic bug here is like this real bug. It has no relationship, it's a poison. And when the chemical companies, Fuji and Kodak, used to have to take their chemicals and they'd have to clean them and then bury them in 12-foot thick walls of concrete and certain kinds of stainless steel called barrels. Millions, hundreds and thousands and billions of dollars over the years. So they found a way to sell them to you so you consume it. The same way they're doing with fluoride. They use fluoride for cleaning metals, cleaning gold. Military is the biggest user to make, tanks, guns, airplanes, all this metal that goes into military. So, they have no place to put all this stuff. So they've convinced the government that the only way you can do that is disperse it in people's waters so everybody's drinking it. And it spreads it out. The newest way to get rid of some of that chemical toxicity is chemtrails. So the aluminum and the barium and some of the cobalt that's used in military industrial waste is now being sprayed in the skies over your head. Everywhere.
Under what guise?
Mosquito.
National security.
Like to kill something?
No. They're saying it's to create some kind of a radar security thing for national security. Create some radar fluid, which is absolutely absurd. Aluminum is not a transconductor of anything.
So what would be good if we happen to have that now? What would be good for the...
Well, you just have to, make sure you're eating your fats, not be skinny.
They call it seeding the clouds in Colorado.
I don't think they call it seeding clouds because it doesn't seed clouds.
Well, that's their excuse for what they're doing up there.
Could be.
Or maybe they're doing
someplace,
They're also.
But I mean, in all the research on chemtrails, nobody's ever made that claim. They're not seeding anything with aluminum because it doesn't create that kind of environment for seeding. Many ways to do
They're
that.
keeping it a real big secret because I listen to the late night talk shows sometimes and they talk about that subject and nobody seems to have a handle on it. It's like a big secret.
Well, if you know the military's waste products from, the steel mills and all of that, they are responsible, they've agreed to be responsible for the waste. So they're spreading it over us, putting it in our water.
I just read today that the amount of ABV in children is up to 1 in 300 now in the state of
Only 1 in 300?
Due to the, is that a small amount? I mean,
Oh, no, you're talking about probably 50% of children. 1 out of 2 has ABV.
to the toxicity of food and air.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, food and air.
That's all the
And water.
shots they give them.
And a shot.
Oh, yes, everything. This is poisoning them, making them very, unable to focus and concentrate. Also, the FDA says your protein level should be 9 to 12%. Hello. You need a lot more protein to be able to deal with a lot of toxicity in the system. So in an environment like ours, the diet should be at least, 15% protein. Minimum 15% protein, calorie-wise. And, fat should be 80%.
No, I remember
carbohydrates only 5.
in the 60s they had the 4 food groups and all that,
Yeah.
and then they changed it to that pyramid. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
who decided that?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden
The
it's
USDA.
all grains and vegetables and then a tiny bit of protein at the top. It used to be 25%.
But for the masses, they can't afford the protein, so they eat the carbohydrates more filling.
But then you just deteriorate health. But that's what they want to do. Obviously, they don't want people to get healthy. It's not about that. If it were about that, there would be vaccine. And there wouldn't be war. It's about genocide. Making money from genocide. Does anybody know who Prescott Bush is?
Yes.
Grandfather to our present, fascist in office. Prescott Bush financed Hitler.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
As soon as the Attorney General found out about that in the United States and seized all the assets of that bank that Prescott Bush ran, Hitler started falling quickly. And you have to take a look at it. Who the hell was this Hitler? He was a house painter. He was a vegetarian, fanatic house painter. They just used him as a puppet. He was just a puppet. A fanatical puppet. Who put 2 tablespoons of sugar in each glass of wine. Who would take a whole bowl of sugar and put it on top of cake. His mind was he was a crazy man.
And had injections of stimulants every morning to get out of bed.
Because he couldn't function.
They just had a big documentary on him that was about his doctor, actually.
Yeah.
It was on, Discovery
But his
Channel.
doctor was part of Prescott Bush.
Right. It's scary.
All of that, and they did the same thing. They're one that designed burning the rice.
Krispies?
Pardon?
What's Krispies?
The government building. Reichstag, right? Reichstag.
Oh, Reichstag.
Reichstag.
Oh, yeah, Reichstag.
Reichstag.
Yeah.
Reichstag. So they burned it to claim, we need to take constitutional rights of the people away for security. So what we have? The towers. We had the Twin Towers. And where's our architect? He's gone. I studied architecture. Rocket fuel burns at 1,688 degrees. The size of those beams and the Constitution took a minimum of 3,200 degrees to cause them to bend. That's bend, never disintegrate. If you notice, they just kept explosives all the way down. That was just a regular demolition. Who could have done that? So, anyway, we're getting into politics. Get back into, health stuff.
Do you think his anger was possessed also as vegetarian?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, he believed he was, he's going to turn the world into vegetarian.
I think that's why
Hitler,
there's
yeah.
so much anger in the Middle East.
Why?
So many of them are vegetarian.
Yeah.
Really?
They
Don't they
eat
eat
grain and that's it, and vegetables.
And
A lot of them are poor.
all of those
also.
carbohydrates don't cause the brain to function properly. Because according to Columbia University, the advanced glycation end products and the acrylamides from carbohydrates make the blood and the neurological system very sticky. So the cells start sticking. The neurons, the axons, the ganglia get congested with this sugar, and everything misfires. So you don't think properly. You're not clear. So you vegetarians are heavily into that. And the less protein you have, the more those advanced glycation end products and acrylamides collect in those systems. So you're going to have a lot of ADD and a lot of problems.
Did you experience that when you were a vegetarian?
Oh yes, I was a fanatic.
I
Oh
was,
yeah.
I wouldn't even lick a stamp because it didn't have
Yeah.
gelatin on it.
Yeah, you had yeah. And all, but I mean, I was brutal. You're a murderer. You eat meat, you're a murderer. I was that way.
So they say meat
Eaters
eaters are
ate
violent.
meat. They were much more grounded.
Yeah, I was grounded. I mean, when I first went to San Diego, right after my book was published in 1997, went to the health convention and I spoke, and I had a table there with the publisher. And this group of vegetarians, raw food vegetarians, came up to the table to talk to me. And I'm sitting there talking very calmly, and they're, furious and furious. And they went on for about 45 minutes, and I was just very calm, let them do their thing. And I would respond once in a while with one sentence that would answer their question, and they weren't listening. So I had a mirror, a little mirror like this, and I held it up and I say, do you think that you're calm? Do you think that this no-meat diet is good and makes you non-angry and non-violent? Take a look. Every one of them was foaming at the mouth. They had this white foam coming out of their mouth. And you could see, and I held it up to each one of them. And I said, look at me and look at you. You tell me who's angry and who's violent. And they walked away. They got it and they walked away. And they never bothered me again.
I went to the Living Lighthouse and had that same experience.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Okay. You have a question?
Talk about traveling. Food travel. What do you take? What do you shop for?
I take butter, honey, and cheese. That's it. I can get eggs and meat anywhere.
Butter,
Well,
Cheese, yeah.
and cheese.
butter.
But now I know when I'm in Asia, and I know where to get honey now, so I don't worry about the honey. So I would take cheese and butter.
You refrigerated?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I keep it in a cooler. Like when I go to Asia, I'll take a half a pound a day of butter.
But what about the extra?
I take it to the, when I'm going to China Airlines or Japan Airlines, whoever it is, I take it to their officers, their officials of that airline, and say, this is the circumstance, I had cancer of the blood and bone, I had a lot of x-rays, I had radiation therapy. If my food goes through, I'm going to get nauseous if I eat this. So what they do is they have it hand checked by TSA, and then they hand it to a baggage carrier who walks it to the plane, gives it to them, and they give it to me as I board the plane.
Wow.
You need a special doctor's person for
Well, it always helps.
Yeah.
But, if you're calm and, collected enough, you can talk them into it.
What do you do with the cheese that you take?
I eat it.
Yes, but do you eat
it like before your meals and after your meals?
No, I eat it as a mineral supplement, depending upon what I feel I need. One time I was without butter for about a week, and the only way I could be satisfied was to eat a coconut, whole coconut with all the meat, the mature coconut, had all the meat. So I'd eat one of those every 1 to 2 days, and that would satisfy that intense hunger from not having dairy and the cream and the butter, Just so relaxing and calm. But eating a whole coconut.
You mean you can't get cheese over there, or do you just take it?
Not raw and unsalted.
Milk you can get.
Well, I get goat's milk,
Yeah.
but that's it. From some of the Muslim, people. Because they do breed goats and they do have goat's milk. And you have to go to the outdoor markets to get it. They got people on the street that sell these wild hives. They're still on the sticks, from the trees.
Wow.
And they just put it in a bag for you, So, it's got all the pollen, the royal jelly, and everything. So a wild hive has
Where's
all
that?
that in it.
That's Thailand.
In Thailand, in Vietnam, in Bali, in Malaysia, Indonesia, all in Cambodia. I found it everywhere. And right in Bangkok, I go into, where these peasants were on the street.
Why do you have it this way?
Because it's much more primitive. People are a little bit more connected with Earth. And, the younger generation, 25 years and younger, they're already being indoctrinated by the TV. You got a stomach ache, right to the pharmacy. And you don't need a prescription for anything. Anything. You can buy anything there. Anything you can get in the drugstore without a prescription.
Paris was that way too.
What?
Paris was that way too.
I heard that Thailand is really bad about pesticides.
Somebody at the door?
Thailand?
Yeah.
Well, in certain areas, yeah, because Monsanto and Dow are giving them chemicals. What they're doing is trying to wipe out the little farmer. Because it destroys the field, they stop getting a crop, then they go out of business. And that's the same thing they did here, in the United States. So then agribusiness comes in and they take over. That's what it's all about. It's their own warfare to take over, to be the authority.
So
They have
there are
all the
wealthy
land.
Thai people that are doing this to the smaller farmers with the Americans, or
No. The Americans are allowed in there to do it.
and then the Americans are going to own the property and
No, well, they
Give
do.
them
What they
cash?
do is they just
They're
have
puppets.
partners. They have partner
Thai
puppets.
partners.
Yeah, but they're puppet partners.
So they get paid on the counter.
What's the name of the DVD about that? Did you see that?
The what?
The DVD that Jerry Garcia's wife produced about Monsanto and the organic farmers?
I don't
Yeah, Whole
remember
Foods was
seeing that.
filming it. I got him to sell it.
Future of Food, is that the one?
What is it?
Future of Food,
The Future of Food.
is that the one?
That doesn't ring a bell, but it might be. It's about Monsanto and the organic. Whole Foods has it.
Okay, do you have a question?
My question, you kind of answered a little bit about, sometimes I get on a little soapbox, and my friends they don't really.
They don't come.
I have a friend who just immunized her child, and she asked me. I didn't decide to talk about it, and I told her the truth of what I knew, and then we got to talking about what I didn't know was how, since they're giving the flu shot for free and this shot for free, I didn't understand how the money was being made, and you kind of touched on it earlier. So the
Our government gives it to the pharmaceutical houses.
and then we pay it through our taxes?
Our taxes pay for it,
Okay,
yeah.
and then,
Taxes
okay,
going up.
I get it. Because my one friend's argument was, well, but the flu shot's free, so what do you mean? They're not making any money. And I said, no, there has to be a way they're making money, believe me. So it's all our
And you have
tax
to
money.
understand that corporations pay less and less tax every year that a Republican is in office. Every year it gets less and less. And they give a lot of rebates, literally rebates, to companies for employing a lot of people. So some of these companies are getting money and not paying a dime of tax. They're actually being paid by our government. So this is all in the system. This is work that if you've got connections, in Congress, then you're in. Especially if you got them in the White House. And our little guy in the White House is just robbing the till.
And when it comes to immunizing your child and taking them to the doctor, we pay for that, right? The parents pay for those
Yeah,
shots,
they're
right?
supposed to pay for it.
The doctor, government pays for it?
No. The individual who goes and gets the
Right, the
shot.
mother who takes
The
the
mother,
child
the
to that
family.
pediatrician,
Yeah, it's
they
paid.
pay for those.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
paid.
but like things like the flu shots and all that are...
That the ones that our government says, here, we're paying for this, and we're going to give it to you. We're going to do you a service. Sure they are. Listen, I got this land in the swamps of Florida. I'm going to do you a favor. Do you have questions?
Philip, I'm going to touch on the bird flu because I'm going to Hong Kong and Bali, and will I be alright with raw poultry there and all that?
You know what I did? When I was in Vietnam, I went to three of those bird farmers, the chicken farmers. They're getting a lab test here would cost me $8,000 to do what I wanted to do. There it cost me $230. They have the same lab test done. So I had it done on 8 of the birds of each flock. Now one of them had any indication of having a flu. Again, they're trying to wipe out the little farmer so the big agribusiness companies can come in. That's what it's all about. And also they're beginning to building up the SARS and everything, building up, and that was this big sale on bird flu. Oh yeah, on flu. The setup.
Right.
Setting you up to be afraid of this bird flu that's going to infiltrate humans. You can't cross, there's no way you can cross a virus into a human from another
Why are they
species.
saying people are dying of it right now?
And
Why
avoid
they
saying
People die every year of flu because they're sick people.
Right. No, but they're saying it's the bird flu. This little kid in Thailand just died because their chicken had
That's a hoax again. It's pulling out one person and saying, this person died of the bird flu. Yeah, same thing they did with the mad cow and the mad sheep.
And anthrax, remember anthrax?
Yeah, so that all they're doing is picking out a few people. And if you look how many times people die a year during the flu, it's something like, over the planet, it's several million people. And they're just picking out one person, they'll pick out a child. And this child died because of the swine flu. How many children die from vaccine? They don't tell you that. And who knows what that child really died of?
Yeah.
So as part, if it's part of that question, so you here we go. I go to the Venice market, or I go to Whole Foods, and I know that the farms are been researched by. But so when you go in other countries,
I eat right out of the streets. Yeah, I go on the streets and get it from the farmers who are growing their own chickens. I remember in Cambodia, they're selling chickens, all this meat and fish, it's on the street in the dirt. I mean, the flies and the bugs and everything. That's just what I want. That's good for, if it's alive and it's breathing on this planet, that's what I want. So I went up to this one vendor, and she was probably mid-30s. Daughter was about 14 years old, maybe 13. And I speak Thai pretty well, and some Vietnamese, but Khmer, I don't know anything except a few foods names. So I wanted to tell this woman I wanted the pieces of chicken with all the fat on it. And they're used to the Americans not wanting fat on anything, And she starts ripping the fat off, and I said, no, that's what I want. She still didn't get it. So I grabbed a piece of that fat and started eating it. I said, I like it. That's what I want. The daughter, 13, 14 years old, jumped back 10 feet. Jumped back 10 feet. because she was afraid I was going to give her some kind of disease. You have to understand, the older thought nothing of it. The older people thought nothing of it. But you have to understand, they're putting televisions. They can't afford a TV. They make 50 cents a day, $1 a day max. That's 12 hours working a day. That's what they make. They can't afford to run the electricity, much less buy a TV every day. Yet General Electric and these other companies have gone in there and given them donations to wire everywhere. So you go out in these villages,
And there's the
and there's stilts.
A grass hut.
Yeah, grass huts. Grass huts. And they've got
nothing
one light bulb in there and
no.
maybe a refrigerator. If they're lucky, they have a refrigerator. Maybe one refrigerator or 2 refrigerators in the whole town, in the whole village, and everybody's got a TV.
Oh, no.
Where do they get that TV? And what does it do? It's always advertising these foods and drugs. Foods and drugs. Foods and drugs. And the American good way of life. And it's all based on them eating and taking drugs. And that's the way they present it. So these younger generation think that their parents are savage and dirty and diseased. Yet, I went into the hospitals and I looked at, I went into the pediatric division because I could meet a lot of the young women who had children. 100% of them had stretch marks. And we're talking 16 to 20-year-olds. Those are the only ones I saw. 16 to 20-year-olds. Some of them, the stretch marks were actually plasticized. Plastic, shiny plastic, from the garbage food that they're eating. Because they're eating Coca-Cola and McDonald's and all the garbage foods that have come from America.
I don't understand that. You're saying that the food that they're eating causes this.
Causes this.
When they get pregnant?
Yeah, after they have the baby. It's over.
Their skin isn't.
Their skin isn't elastic like, and their mothers don't have it. They've had 5 children, and they don't have any stretch marks. Maybe they've got those old rolls, but no stretch marks. And these young girls, stretch marks. Every one of them has, and I probably saw altogether in Cambodia and 4 hospitals in Thailand and 3 in Vietnam. 100% of those young women had stretch marks. Some of them actually looked and felt like plastic. Yet these children are being brainwashed. The American way is chemicals, drugs, processed food. It's your savior. So they think bacteria is this horrible thing. And it comes from the earth. So they have them fearing, like most people in America, you fear insects, you fear bacteria, you fear parasites, when we should be fearing chemicals. We've been living with parasites and those insects in the earth for millions of years. We know that Lucy's at least 4 million years.
We're dying off, right?
Yep, dying off. Well, when I was in 1957, 1 person out of 1,000 died of cancer. Now it's 1 out of 30. 1 out of 2.5. We're not getting healthier. You have a question?
Yeah. You said that when you buy your milk, you put it, when you get out of the fridge, you do it for 2 days.
At least.
Do you give it some air, or you just have it tight?
No, I leave a little air space. Just a little air space.
You put in a mason jar, but does it...
No, I leave it. I buy the gallon jars in glass. The half-gallon jars in glass. I buy it in glass. I don't like plastic. I can taste plastic. So I take the cap off. I pour a little. I shake it up so the cream's mixed. I pour a little out, so I've got a little air space.
But is the top tight?
I put it on tight. Yeah. Just leave it in a dark cupboard for about 2 days. I like to put a couple tablespoons of honey per quart in because during the summer it will, when it's warmer, it will turn into kefir quicker. In the winter, it's just the opposite. You put the honey in, and it will take 3 or 4 days to become kefir.
That's when you're supposed to leave it that long?
Then I put the honey in. Yeah, I will leave it that long. In the cupboard. But I don't use heat in my house. And I live in the mountains of Malibu, so it gets pretty cold up there. It's even down to freezing sometimes. We have hailstorms up there, once or twice a year. So pretty cold where I live.
So, but doesn't the honey kill the bacteria that you want?
No, what it does was it helps the acidophilus grow quicker. It causes the lactate to be digested predominantly over the fats and the proteins, because you have the Bulgarius and Crocosticus bacteria. And when you put the honey in, it allows the other bacteria to become less active. And then you have a sweeter keeper. It's not bitter. Well, it's not as sour.
So in the winter, you want to leave it 3 days in the cupboard.
You keep a warm house for you and your mother. Mine's cold. My house gets down to about 50-some degrees.
Okay.
You know, like a refrigerator. People walk into my house and they have to leave their clothes on.
How much honey?
I put 2 tablespoons per quart. And if anybody has a normal temperature of house, that's what put in, it'll help it turn into kefir quicker.
I have a short question. Like you said, everything has to be equal room temperature. Like if you live in a cold place, how do you have it room temperature? Like if you live like in Siberia or...
Well, that's room temperature. I mean, if you're, that's, the Eskimos, out of all the raw fooders, they live the same lifespan we do. The other raw fooders live 150 years old average. Okay? The Eskimos, because, they take a fish, I was there, they fish through the ice. By the time the fish is at their mouth, it's already a popsicle. Everything they eat's frozen, and to me, that's why they don't live as long. Because they lose a lot of enzymes.
So how do you keep it not frozen in the cold place?
To go back into the little Eskimo hut.
Well, they don't have that, yeah. But I mean, they're so hardy. I mean, they've got their babies crawling butt naked on the ice of an igloo, How many of you would do that? How many of you would let your child, your infant, crawl on an ice floor? You'd freak, wouldn't you? Why? Build that strong baby, especially if it's on all the time. You have a question?
I have 2 questions. I have a lot of radiation and heavy metals in my system, and they're being dumped. I'm eating a lot of cheese to absorb it and everything, get it out of my body. And you mentioned to me that I don't want to detox too quickly because it could really, really hurt me if there's too much going on in the system. So my first question is, the detox baths, is that something that would speed up my detox and be dangerous for me?
No, because that's lymphatic as long as you only do them once every. If you're doing the lymphatic baths that I talked about in the revision, you can do those every 3 days, 3 or 4 days. You don't want to do them any more than that because it takes 3 days to catch up with it. But a lymphatic bath normally does not detoxify heavy metals.
It just removes the detox, the stuff that has been detoxed?
No. Well, it helps that, but what it's doing is melting the stuff in the lymph. Most people don't store mercury in the lymphatic system.
So actually, I didn't get it from your book, so I don't know if this is the lymphatic bath, but someone told me about putting some milk in the hot water, some salt, some apple cider vinegar, some coconut cream, and getting to 102 to 105 temperature.
Right.
Is that the lymphatic?
That's exactly my lymphatic bath.
Okay. And a question.
Plus, you drink a pineapple mixture with coconut cream before you get into the bath.
Do you drink any kind of liquid while you're in the bath?
Well, it's better that you don't, but you can. Let's say you have some milk, that's okay to drink, and there's some kefir, it'll be okay. If you need some water, it's helpful.
Okay, and my second question is, what do you think of hyperbaric oxygen therapy?
Awful.
Really?
Awful. Every time I've received somebody who's had it, it's terrible for them. It's not true oxygen, it's a chemical oxygen. The only way you can get true oxygen is from plants.
So because they're administering this oxygen under pressure, it's altering the oxygen?
It isn't true oxygen. It's a chemical oxygen. It isn't produced by a plant.
Well, doesn't it come from the air?
No. They chemically produce it from a gas, a mixture of chemicals to make a gas that they call oxygen.
What kind of side effects do they have from that?
Some people it causes headaches, some people it causes slow neurological degeneration. And it usually, it's neurological degeneration. Take, for example, my mother got breast cancer 5 years ago. I don't remember how I found out it wasn't from her. So I called her before she had any surgery or anything done, and I talked to her about it. I said, 15 years ago you were in really bad shape. You did the diet 50%, raw eggs and orange juice and olive oil and raw and salted cheeses, and you did about 50% raw, and you saw how it turned you and Dad around. I said, once try this. She said, but this is cancer. And I said, yeah, but did you read my books? Of course I read your books. She said, but I'm a nurse, and I believe in the medical way. I said, okay, so what are you going to do? She said, well, I'm going to have a lumpectomy. I'm having 11 limbs removed. I'm not going to have a mastectomy. And then I'm going to have radiation therapy. I said, Mom, you're 72 years old, and you're going to have radiation therapy over your breast, in your lungs behind. What's going to happen to your lungs at your age? Well, nothing will happen. It'll be fine. She was on oxygen for 3 years. 3 years after that. She was off of, she said I'd use it at night, but she was on it for almost 24 hours a day for 3 years. Stopped her from going on vacations, stopped her from doing all kinds of things. She would go golfing without her oxygen, but she took it with her in case. So she had several times a day when she'd go out without having it on, but have it with her. Then it got less, after 3 years it was less and less. And then she had a surgery. She went deaf, which is part of that. All that therapy, and it damages the body. It's going to deteriorate more and more. And the first things you're going to lose are your senses. So she lost her hearing. So she had this $80,000 surgery planting these new hearing aids which have circuitry that plugs into the cochlea in her ear. So that means they're getting right into part of the brain center and putting electrical currents and wiring into her head. Too old to be doing this. 77, 78 years old. Too old to be doing this kind of a thing. She got a serious infection. She took antibiotics. She's wasting away because now every food repulses her. I just left her last week, and I fed her papaya. Lots of papaya. Got her appetite back. It only took 1 day of eating papaya, and her appetite was back. I gave her custard, the next morning, and that made her a little nauseous. A couple of hours later, she started vomiting. So I knew I had to keep the butter down. So I just give her the eggs and the papaya without the butter and just some honey. And that was working. So after I got her stronger and eating well, I left 3 days later, and she went into the hospital that night for tests. She hasn't come out of the hospital. It's been 10 days. And she's just wasting away.
Would be an enroll
Oh, no.
What would you have done in order to help her breast cancer instead of radiation?
Well, I was just giving her a good diet.
Yeah.
Clean the lymphatic system. And put hot water bottles under her armpits. Dissolve it. Make it fluid so it moves. Do you have a question?
Well, could I just...
Where is she living?
Make some...
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Clear up something about her question first. Is like, you said a bath at 103 degrees. If we
102 to 105.
Okay, so if we go to Glen Ivy, is that the same thing as a lymph detox?
If you're in it long enough, you have to be in it for 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
Without even popping up, huh?
Well, you maybe pop up for maybe a minute or two, but you've got to keep that heated deeply.
Okay. Well, with the pineapple mixture, is that in the book?
Yes.
Is it in the book? Okay. And would that be good, thing to take if we go to Glen Ivy?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
You want to utilize as a detoxifier. Oh, and I have, in my car, I have some copies of the revised We Want to Live, if you want to get one today. Anybody interested?
Well,
just hang around after this and let me know.
Okay, my question is my husband's question, and he has this down here, and, Kathy told you a little about it before, but he said that he wants to know if you write that the meat has starch. Is it possible that the nut formula is not necessary except for extra starch? And that if one eats enough meat, that they could even skip the nut formula, especially if he has a serious neurotoxical, if it initiates a neurotoxical detox.
Well, you have to eat it every day for like 10 days to cause that kind of detoxification in most people.
So is it possible that he could eliminate the nut formula, or would you? I'd
have to see him. I don't know him. If he's got some, if he's got some neurosis, then he needs the nut formula.
What symptoms he wants to know? What symptoms would be apparent from a nut formula detox?
Anxiety. No, well, not a detox. Any kind of detox is going to create multiple symptoms depending upon the individual. But if you want to know if somebody needs the nut formula, or if the starches in the meat will be enough, if you've got any anxiety, any paranoia, you need the nut formula, period. Okay? Do you have a question?
Well, I was actually curious about, do you think a raw vegan diet is worse than the standard American diet?
Yeah.
Eating burgers and raw vegan would be worse?
Yeah. Well, if you look at the tribes that only eat cooked meats, they have very few diseases. They have gout, they have some osteoporosis, they have some lower intestinal problems, but they have no severe degenerative diseases. 50% of my cancer clients are long-term vegetarian.
Are there any raw vegan tribes? You were saying
no, don't know any raw vegan tribes on the whole planet.
Yeah.
No. Good question.
Hi, Aajonus. Two things. One is that you're going to talk about the milk and organic pastures thing.
Okay.
Okay.
I was curious about organic pastures because their milk turned 3 bitter for 3 solid months, and I couldn't stand it anymore. So I sent it to a lab and had it tested for toxins. I thought maybe they were. Even one farmer said that his milk tasted like that once when his worker wasn't rinsing out a detergent out of the machinery truck. So I had to check for everything, and it came back completely negative for anything. So I thought, I don't know what, he must be just feeding them some kind of rice bran again, and the gibberellic acid is causing bitterness. So I thought that was probably it. But then I ran into a fellow who works for him, and we were talking about it, and I said, well, I stopped drinking that milk 5 months ago because I couldn't stand it being bitter all the time. He says, oh, that's just because you get warm in shipping. I said, Claravel gets very warm. I've had dairy for years, 58 years, that never went bitter like this. There's something about his milk. He said, no, that's it. Mark says that's what it is. I said, Mark doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. He claims to be this brilliant dairy farmer, but he's not. He doesn't know much of anything. And he says, well, we chill it to 32 degrees. 32 degrees, freezing temperature. My grandparents were dairy farmers. They supplied all the dairy all the way to Chicago, from Sheffield, Illinois, for a 100-mile radius, all the way over to Chicago. We never allowed the milk to go under 45 degrees because it would have a tendency to go sour or bitter quicker. So I wrote Mark an email and said, Mark, I told him about my grandparents and what they said. I said, if you want to know why your milk is turning bitter, take your milk and test it. I can take milk that's 45 degrees and I can keep it for 3 weeks without it ever turning bitter or even sour. Once it goes below 45 degrees, you've got a problem.
Well, maybe he listened to you because I bought his milk twice in the past 2 weeks. And it has been good again.
Oh, good, thank God.
Well, he was freezing it.
Basically, he was
make
freezing
it have a
it.
longer lifespan.
Yeah, that's what he thought. But I said, what happens is if you freeze it, you destroy the acidophilus bacteria.
Yeah.
So all you have is the Caucasus and Bulgarius to digest the fats and the proteins. Then nothing sweet is digested. So you have this bitter milk.
The Amish milk is better.
Oh, I love the Amish milk. I can get that to turn in 2 days, or even sometimes less than 2 days, in my cupboard into kefir.
I started trying to make my own cheese, and I started with Claravel, and it was so easy to get it to do what I wanted. Then I tried the organic pastures, and it wouldn't do anything. Like, it just got weird and gross and too thick, too fast, and I couldn't control it. And then I tried it with the Amish, and it was easy.
Easy, yeah. Can't take it to 32. Can't do it.
What cheese did you I have another question, because that wasn't really my question.
Okay.
Just a reminder. The question is, what happens to allergies on the raw diet? For instance, I have trouble with the milk still, and nuts. I've always been allergic to milk and nuts. So,
Have you tried the nut formula? You're still having allergic reaction? What is your reaction?
I get, my skin starts breaking out, and I have kind of a stuffy in my nose.
It's an allergic reaction. When you have an allergy to food, it happens in the intestines. And then it can cause chemical reactions out the system. If you're having it here, you've got some kind of toxicity that is drawing out of either your brain or your visual nerves.
Yeah, I have, in fact, it's probably visual because I have rosacea in my eyes. So I can just continue drinking the milk and eating them.
Absolutely, that's what you want. Just don't drink the milk cold. Because when you drink milk cold, it contracts the stomach. No hydrochloric acid is produced. That milk moves into the duodenum undigested. You absorb the casein and the lactate without digestion, and that will cause allergies. So always leave your milk out till it gets warm, or put it in a bowl of warm water, inside a jar to warm it. I won't, because I have no vagus nerves in my stomach. My milk sits out for at least 2 days before I drink it. I drank the some that I have here, and you see me only sipping it. I sip it. If I'm drinking it, it hasn't been left out.
So between the raw milk and the kefir, is one better than the other? If I use the mink kefir?
Kefir is always better, because kefir everything's pre-digested already. So there's very little digestion that has to occur. Same way with high meat. When your bacteria is pre-digested everything, or a lot of it, so that you can break it down into smaller amino acids to do so many more things. And the neurological system, its amino acids are the smallest particles of amino acids. And the only thing that normally breaks that down into that size are the E. coli in the bowels. So if your bowels aren't working, or you do enemas, or colonics, you're destroying the nutrients, the protein that's going to feed your nervous system. If you let your meat get high and eat it that way, it'll change the nervous system. That's why you see, people with psychological problems, 20 minutes, they're different people. And they've been on neurological compounds, psychotropic drugs, 5 a day for 40 years. I've got one guy who suffered so badly, the only job he could do was be a gardener. So he didn't have to be around people. And he'd trim trees and do all of that. And he lived in Nevada City. Depressed his whole life. Hated people. Got to eating the high meat finally. changed his entire life. Now he's got 3 gorgeous girls, and he's not even that good looking. But he's such a happy guy now, and he was depressed and mean all of his life. When we started eating the high meat, he's a nice guy. He's funny, very funny guy. He just didn't have the nutrients to feed his nervous system properly. So he started eating the high meat. So he only eats high meat. He eats 2 pounds of high meat a day.
Oh my God. Wow.
And he's got 3 gorgeous girlfriends. I mean, gorgeous girlfriends. And even made my jaw drop.
Well, the milk that you say you leave out for 2 days, then you drink it? You leave it out the whole week till you go get more milk and you start the deal over again?
No, I take them out for 3 days in advance.
I see.
So it's out 2 days and drinking it,
Okay.
1 day.
Well, the
So
others
it
in
rotates
fridge.
like that,
Okay.
yeah. Do you have a question?
What do you know about
What'd you say?
Oh, I know a lot about marijuana. I was
About what?
for 2.5 years, every day.
What'd he say?
What do you know about
There are
What do you know
16.
about marijuana?
What do I know about marijuana? Marijuana has 16 times minimum the tars that regular cigarettes do. So 1 joint is like smoking a pack of cigarettes as far as tar goes. And when you're smoking, pardon? And when you're smoking, that the tars are being heated from 750 to 1232 degrees. That crystallizes in the system. Causes lymphatic congestion. It causes severe neurological congestion. So not a good thing. If you're going to take marijuana, you juice it. You get it green and fresh, and you juice it. And I wouldn't take over a teaspoon at a time. And it takes the Tylen enzyme to release the THC. So you have to leave it in the mouth for as long as you can. If you don't want to juice it, you just chew the leaf. You have to chew and chew and chew and leave it in the mouth for about 20 minutes to get the THC to release if you want to have a high. That's a good high because there's no monoxides in it, and your high lasts for about 3 days without being unruly high.
what's good if you have the marijuana?
What is it good for?
The cilantro is good for?
No. If you want to get rid of the tars from smoking marijuana, you have to take the juiced marijuana. You have to put about, let's say you have 4 ounces of juiced marijuana. You put about 2 drops of vinegar in there and 2 drops of lemon juice, and you let it ferment. Then those tars will create bacteria that will go in and seek out the tars in your body that have crystallized from smoking marijuana. And you take no more than a teaspoon a day about every 4 days.
If you don't do that, will your body eventually detox some of the tar anyway, or not?
A very little bit. That crystallizing at that high temperature, it takes a lot to help. Still in the body. If it goes to the brain, and the tars go to the brain, it'll start. That's the THC.
Get memory loss.
Yeah. Well, that's mostly the carbon monoxides that cause the brain to shut down.
Does that cause permanent damage?
If the tars get into the brain, it can cause a permanent damage.
So it's only about the tar?
Yeah. They crystallize. Crystallized tars have an affinity toward the brain. And then, could create strokes, seizures.
So THC isn't part of them?
THC is locked in the tar and in the cellulose. So that's why if you chew it a long time, the Tylen enzyme that's in our saliva will help break it and release it.
The THC itself can't do anything
Well, if it's cooked, yeah, it can. But not raw.
So it's not
It
toxic.
just becomes a psychonutrient.
So
There are
it's
lots
not
of tribes that use psychonutrients to stay connected with the earth. Psilocybin, when it's in a mushroom, and you have an anti-agent for the strychnine in it, if you're taking something like, when I was experimenting with it in the 60s, I would always take like peyote, the magic cactus, or the mushroom, I would always take it with figs to neutralize the strychnine that naturally existed in it. Well, the natives, they taught me how to think like that. I got books from the Native American Indians, on how they took drugs, how they took care. They knew what was toxic, and they knew how to take foods along with their psychotropic nutrients.
A fresh fig, would that be, or dried?
Dried or fresh. Do you have a question, Bob?
Yes.
Oh, thank our host.
So, as I've sat here through today, I have had these surges that come and go. I don't want to label them just yet, but they're very uncomfortable. I want to say hormonal or adrenaline or something. And I don't give in, but I crave, I know that if I were to eat chocolate, sugar, phenylethylamine, being in a new relationship helps it. Elevate my dopamine somehow. If I find some way to elevate my dopamine, but I really have to elevate it. I have to be really connected with somebody to elevate it. My walks help me. Mm-hmm. But when I'm working, or I'm sitting here today, or I'm teaching, and especially when I wake up in the morning, I almost want to jump out of my skin. And it comes and goes. It could last 45 minutes, and then all of a sudden I have this calm, and then an hour later, I'm jumping out of my skin again. Yeah. And this is becoming a new thing. It's been, and I eat very high fat, and I also I intuitively know to eat very high fat. I eat mainly fat, pretty much, and then my next thing is protein.
You're not going to digest the fat properly without the protein. Mm-hmm. So you've got to have the protein. That's why I say everybody needs to eat their first.
I have a formula with my meat, and I am, and I have coconut. What you told me, the coconut cream with my juice.
But like I say, you have an overproduction of hormones, almost like an athlete. Mm-hmm. So you have to exercise every day, at least 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours.
Well, I do now.
Yeah. And you need to do that consistently, and you can't take a day off. Your hormones don't take a day off. Mm-hmm. And if you want to control them without exercising, then the only way I know is a nut formula. Or some cooked starch with a raw fat, but that creates the acrylamides that collect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the nut formula, I've had cravings for that, and I've been having a lot of that. It helps, but I need to eat nut formula constantly.
You, like I say, you're an athlete. You can't do that. What happens to an athlete when they have at the end of a season? What happens to an athlete? He takes off, start going out and getting in brawls. They beat up their wives or whatever it is, and they become nuts because they got hormones that run them to exercise. And if they don't exercise, they're going to have to burn it emotionally, and that's high anxiety. So you just have to consider that you have to make plans for you to exercise every day.
Well, I do. More than an hour is a lot of time.
I know, but that's you.
And will it subside at some point? Is
that's for life. I have very little hormone. The only hormone I had largely was sex. Finally, that subsided. Going around masturbating 5 times a day is, it's annoying.
Surely Thailand can help you.
So, let's calm down, So, but that was, I had no worry circles in my eyes. I shouldn't have even had that overproduction. But I did. You have so many of those hormone lines in your eyes, that's for life. They don't change. That's your system. So you have to schedule your time into your body. You're not going to schedule your body into your time.
So the reason I didn't feel this so much before was because I was so heavy, and
you had all that fat, and you were eating poor foods.
And I just was a sugar. Yeah.
What do you do? Did you lose the... Molly, did you lose the weight from being on the tribal diet?
Every day.
So some, but not the majority. Some, I mean, Aajonus doesn't want to hear this one.
No, we gotta keep
Yeah,
going.
we gotta keep going.
Okay, Roger, do you have questions?
My question involves chelation. You've heard of that, and there's intravenous, which EDTA, and then they also have oral chelation now, which doesn't have ETA, and it's supposedly these heavy metals are flushed out through the bowel, whereas ETA goes through the kidneys, as I understand.
I've never seen tests on humans that were proper, and most of the tests have been done on pigs, and they haven't collected properly to prove to me that all of it. See, when they use chelation therapy, they're using a metallic agent, like an EDTA. They use a sulfa drug. Sulfa will dry out the body, but it has a magnetism toward heavy metals. What is going to relieve it from the body unless you have tons of fat? So whenever I have seen, and 95% of the people, or even a little bit higher, 95% of the people who I have seen who've had chelation therapy have taken the heavy metals from their glands and their soft organs and deposited it in their bones, lymphatic system, and connective tissue. So they've taken one area and put it to another. Not only have they done that, but the chelation agent, becomes a part of that compound and stores in the body too. Wow. I've seen people's skin turn into toilet paper after about 10 years after. Because it just starts disassembling everything. It takes minerals out of everything, not just search those toxic metals out and takes them out of the body.
Well, does it take the plaque out of the circulatory system?
It can do that, but then it starts taking apart the arteries and starts taking apart everything else. So that's not a way to do it.
What is the way to do it?
Pardon?
What is the way to do it?
Drinking cilantro juice with, coconut cream and dairy cream, berries and coconut cream. That's a safe way to do it. But to get rid of the plaque, you just need to heat the body, get high blood pressure. High blood pressure we have for a reason. Almost everybody who has clogged arteries gets elevated blood pressure. It's to stretch out those veins, or else they're going to end up getting strokes. And the doctor's got it completely backwards, because the pharmaceutical industry wants your money. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I got two. One is, since you travel a lot in Thailand, have you heard, I'm sure you must have heard of the food mangosteen?
Yeah.
Is that good? Well, I mean, what's your feeling about that food? Because there's some people like selling it for the outer skin being very therapeutic. Is that any truth to that?
If you could digest it.
Is this the mango seed or the mango?
No, mangosteen.
Mangosteen.
The mango seed, that's a different thing.
But that skin is very complex. It's a complex cellulose. So if you were a cow or a deer or a goat or a sheep, you'd be able to digest it, get a lot out of it. Unless you take that skin and you chew it for 30 minutes, then you might get some good benefit of it. Mm-hmm. But these people who think that they are getting some benefit by just, chewing the fruit and swallowing the skin, they're not going to get much out of it. A little bit, maybe 2-3%, but not a lot.
How about if they use it as an herb? They would boil the skin.
What happens when you boil the skin? Okay. What happens in all foods? You have metals, you have trace metals, arsenic, lead, mercury, in every food that exists, in every leaf, in every skin that there is, bark, no matter what it is, stalk, root, you have those elements, you have iron, all these metals that are in every food. When you cook it, you break all the bonds and they all become free radicals. tea is a poor man's remedy. The pharaohs and all the, the dynasties, they had fresh juice was their medicine. The poor people, the lackeys out in the fields, they had to boil theirs. They had nobody to crush and juice their vegetables. And it wasn't a healthy way to do it. Okay? Do you have a question?
Yeah, I know you said about eating cold meat and cold milk, so I've been trying to, have them...
Cold milk is different, and cold meat is different. You can eat cold meat.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought one time you said the same thing with how it contracted the stomach? Or?
Yeah, it contracts the stomach, but you secrete hydrochloric acid. Meat is not a liquid. Okay. So it's not going to absorb right into the duodenum quickly. It's going to have to go through the channel slowly. You'll just digest it slower. You've got hydrochloric acid all throughout the small intestine. So that meat has 16 hours to digest. Milk is going to be absorbed because it's liquid very rapidly. So as soon as it enters the stomach, you better start digestion with it. Cold meat's different.
Oh, okay. Because I've been eating I don't like it warm, but I've been eating it warm because I thought you said that you should...
I only like mine warm taste-wise.
Really? Yeah,
I like the taste of warm.
I thought you said because of the hydrochloric acid.
No, that's milk. Yeah. And eggs.
Well, eggs you can't refrigerate anyway.
That's right.
Yeah,
So yeah.
Okay. But yogurt or kefir, that's okay cold.
Once it's kefir, it's already pre-digested.
And milk's the only thing that you can't drink cold. Anything else you can have cold, just milk, you got to make sure it's warm. Okay.
But kefir, once it's pre-digested, you can drink it cold.
See, I even make my ice cream out of kefir. I don't use milk.
Oh, really?
To make my ice cream, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it tastes so much better.
Really?
I made a orange rum ice cream last night.
How do you get rum?
Yeah, the rum.
Okay. You have to make a raw bitter chocolate. And I had the recipe that I made the cheesecake with. You make the chocolate that way. You just have to let it sit for about 2 months until it ferments. And it creates a rum in it. And it's not too strong. And you only use like a tablespoon per quart of mixture for the ice cream. And I use like 2 oranges. Use the kefir, cream, and honey, and just about a tablespoon of the chocolate. A heaping tablespoon of the chocolate.
Which chocolate?
It was incredible. The chocolate that I make.
Oh, but after you buy it from James.
You buy the cocoa beans from James.
Yeah.
But to make the chocolate, it's a process.
Is it in the book?
No, it's not.
Are you going to have it in your book?
I don't have it in the book. There's a website that's going up, and I've already contracted, so I can't give out that recipe normally to people because that kind of new stuff and information is going to be on that website. There'll be a bi-weekly or a monthly newsletter where I'm going to be giving out information like I do here. I'll take a particular subject and go through it. You'll be able to go online and search all the information that is not even in my books that I make available. The books will be able to be searchable. You'll be able to buy the books in PDF format so you can search them yourself, if you have Acrobat Reader. So there's going to be many benefits to that. So, you can have your hard copy and you can have your digital copy. If you want to search something quickly, that's the way to do it.
Is this your website?
What is the website?
No, I'm not going. I don't have the time to do it, but I found somebody to do this. Yes, right.
Are they going to charge for this?
Yes, it's going to be like something like $79 a year, $30 for a month trial or something like.
Oh, what do we have to pay?
You'd have to pay that amount,
Yeah.
$79. I mean, that's
So
pretty
does that
incredible.
mean you're not going to tell us how to make the chocolate?
I can't.
Why not?
I can't.
Because we won't tell.
Because I've contracted it. If you email me, I'll send it to you.
You'll get a bunch of emails.
Yeah, but I can attach it to that quickly.
Oh, I see.
But you guys can't give it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Aajonus, is it in the coconut cream recipe, the coconut cake, cheesecake recipe that you gave me? Remember, you said it back in the
No, that was, yes, that is in that.
It is in there.
That is the
I'm not
chocolate.
giving it to anybody.
Right, yeah.
Make it for the next potluck.
But that was the chocolate orange cheesecake.
That's right.
It's the same thing as that, only you're making ice cream with it, and the chocolate's fermented.
Right.
See, it wasn't
It's
fermented
something
when for the cheesecake. Okay.
Can I ask you just one thing on my last question? I'll have a cold yogurt, but I always crave milk. So I'll have a cold yogurt and warm milk right after. Is that okay? No. So if I have cold meat, I shouldn't even have warm milk then. Will that matter?
No, that's okay.
Yeah?
If you're having warm milk, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. But just the cold yogurt is just too much cold and it won't produce the hydrochloric acid.
Well, it'll just contract the stomach, so then the hydrochloric acid is not going to dump even into the warm milk.
Yeah.
It's just going to get in there.
Okay. So anything cold, really, I shouldn't have with
milk that isn't already kefir yogurt.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Do you have a question?
First of all, I want to mention, I don't have a computer, so I'm trying to look around for people who can make me a flyer, and I'm going to be going around, this is not a question, I want to have somebody have a computer to look up chemical analysis chemtrails. I want to go around to see, because it's been put out, like you said, by U.S. government military spraying in the it's iridescent clouds, iridescent.
Yeah, but you don't have time to talk about that.
Oh no, I don't want to talk about it.
She needs
Ask
somebody
who has a computer.
She needs somebody to go online and search the websites who've done chemical analysis of chemtrails.
And to type a flyer for me, and I'll be the distributing around it. I'll distribute it.
I need to get people to call their Congress or people or,
I gotta fix it.
Pardon?
I gotta fix it.
How do you know?
People lobbying.
Yeah, well, what they did here in L.A., you know what they did? They got so many calls about it, they stopped doing it over L.A. Now they do it over Ventura and over Malibu and let it float over into L.A. Nobody sees it.
I saw it the other day.
Yeah, well, they're doing it
Right.
again.
Well, Dennis Kucinich withdrew his support from it, what I heard.
Yeah.
But he did know about the chemical trails. It's started by the U.S. government, and the military puts it out, sprayings from airplanes.
Well, can't you do some of the research at the library?
I don't have all right, I'll do the research, but I need somebody with a computer who can type me up a flyer, because otherwise, if I go to Kinko's, I'm going to have to put out $45
You
for
can do it at
a
the
flyer
library.
setup.
It's free at the library.
I don't know how to use a
They'll show
computer
you.
and to put up a flyer.
They'll show you. It's really easy.
Oh.
You just have to type it out, and then they'll print it and everything. It's really.
Oh, if I want to
it
make a
costs 15
flyer.
cents to print.
Okay, you guys can work this out
All right.
another time.
Oh, I know, I have a question I want to
Okay.
say. That was just an announcement if anybody was willing to help me.
Question?
Okay, if you have anything like material like cashmere, a sweater, the material, what do? Can you wash it in the washing machine? Is it going to shrink? Because it says on the label, wash by hand.
I wash wool, I wash silk and everything in a washing machine.
A regular
But
washing
you
machine.
put it inside a pillowcase. You put your sweater or your item that is a wool, that's a hair, so to keep it from shrinking, keep it from stretching out of form, you put it inside a pillowcase, you rubber band that shut, and you wash in cold water. And you do not dry it in a dryer.
Well,
You
one
have to lay it
thing,
out.
if you put a rubber band tighter, a rubber band, how many times
Kathy,
do you wrap it around
watch,
it?
okay? You take a pillowcase, you open it, you put the sweater inside of it, okay? Kind of leave it open, don't have it folded in there, it's kind of out. Put it in there, So you've got this pillowcase with this way up the top, you wrap a rubber band until it's around there tight.
Oh, but how is the water going to go through?
The water goes through the material.
The pillowcase. Oh, but it's going to be tight, the rubber band tight around it.
That's right.
Just try it.
try
Just try it. Let's see.
Oh, I see, the water gets on.
It goes through the pillowcase. It
What
gets
kind of
to
soap
the
do you
item.
use?
I use BioClean, BI-O-KLEEN.
Where do you get that from?
And I use their cleaner degreaser. It's made with grapeseed oil and orange peel oil.
And they have a detergent.
And I use the same thing. I use it for everything, and it works perfectly. It's a concentrate, and it causes less pollution, and I only have to use, like a tablespoon per washer load.
If you use any more, it's bad? If you want to use more
You're
soap.
polluting,
Oh.
and you're also going to get more detergent in your clothes.
Oh, so no more than a tablespoon per wash load?
Wash load, yes.
But if you have only one item to wash, like you said, the sweater,
Then use just a teaspoon. If you're putting it in a washing machine. But there are other things you might be able to wash in cold water. Then you can wash other things with that sweater.
like what? Like anything red?
Yes.
I mean,
anything.
material.
Depends anything that's colorful that you want to wash in cold water.
I wouldn't wash a white sweater in red.
Anyway, should I be washing my eyes with the egg whites because I have the light sensitivity?
Absolutely.
How often?
I would say once a day minimum,
And
twice a day
of course,
would be better.
I don't beat the egg whites, right?
No.
Just enough to coat the eyes, let it absorb.
Essentially just came for a consult this weekend, and her eyes were so sensitive I couldn't even get them open to take the photograph. So I took some egg white and I put a few drops in each eye, and the eyes stayed completely open. I do this all the time.
Amazing.
People have incredible light sensitivity. So a few drops in, held in for 3 minutes. The eyes are just going to absorb it all. So if you go out and you have a day when you can't open your eyes because of the outside light, you drop a few drops of egg white in your eyes. 3 minutes later, you'll be able to withstand the light. It's that easy.
I've never been able to withstand light, and after he even put the flashlight in my eye, there was no
Contraction.
flashes and nothing. And I even lose the vision in my eyes because of light. And that was like...
Didn't happen.
No, didn't happen at all.
How long does that last, that egg white?
It'll last until she goes to sleep.
That's
In
all.
the essence.
So every day I should do that for how long? Just until I'm no longer sensitive?
Well, I can do it the rest of your life as long as you're living in Los Angeles. You're living in West Hollywood, and the pollution. Everybody should be using it. If you're living in Malibu, use it when you have to.
Okay.
But if you're living in LA City, anywhere, the valley, anywhere, you should be putting that in your eye every day if you want to maintain or improve your eyesight.
Is it tough when you're driving at night with night blindness?
Yes.
Because it's an eyedropper, did you say?
I use, well, for
eye
patients I use an eyedropper. For me, it's when I break an egg and, I suck it and I just take a little bit and go like this. I just put it on my finger and rub it like that on the lower, and then I just hold my eye open and roll it around like a circus master until it gets all absorbed into the eye.
Where'd you learn that?
Well, I was doing chemical analysis in a laboratory on egg white, and I realized it was almost identical to teardrops, only it had more protein in it. And I thought, how would it work if I fed egg white into the eye? And then discovered all these things that it did, improved vision and everything.
Because the egg's pretty sterile, the environment of an egg.
Pardon?
It's pretty sterile in some of the eggs.
Yeah. Unless it's cracked.
What about those laundry bags? You know, those mesh laundry bags that you can get?
I've never tried one, so I don't know. Probably would work okay.
Oh, for putting the cashmere sweater in?
Yeah.
It has holes in it, though.
Yeah, but it's not going to, you need something that isn't going to allow it to stretch out of shape.
Oh, okay.
That's the importance there. Because, you can have one arm that stretches this far, and you have another one that's this long, so that's, in a bag, is to keep it from stretching out of shape.
And you gave me a specific diet yesterday. Should I also add the nut formula to that or no?
Not right now.
If you feel neurotic sometimes, absolutely.
I'm always freaked out.
Okay, then you should be having.
I have what she has. The hits of adrenaline and
Yeah,
bam,
but
bam,
you've got over 7 worry circles, so you're an athlete. You know, so you have to exercise 5 hours a day.
You come pound on your door.
I got 3.
Okay. It's all right. I'll be
No,
here.
because I know what you're talking about. The hits of, you just feel it like waves just shooting through your body. And I hate, it's horrible.
So you have to do the exercise and take the metformin.
Okay.
So metformin probably twice a week for you.
Okay, and that's it. Okay.
Most people only have to take it one day a week. Other people need to take it more often. Clay, do you have a question?
Yeah, a couple. One, how do you treat hyperthyroid? Second one is
hypo or hyper?
Hyper.
Pine nuts.
Okay.
Easy as that. Pine nuts.
Okay.
They restrict the thyroid from producing T3 and T4.
Perfect. The second one is I finished reading the book Magic, Mud, Worms, and Other Miracles. That book. The guy talked about chemosis. Talked about. I was really ticked when a guy just pissed me off. Anyway, he talked about this condition where you don't get circumcised, and it's called chemosis. But you never talked about how you handle that. You know, how you get the problem, how you do it. I mean, the guy first pissed the hell out of me.
Well, he went off on his tangent.
He sure did.
About circumcision.
Yeah, he did, right.
But, you know, you can get in a vagina, you can get anywhere where you don't keep it clean if you're eating garbage food. If you're eating food that causes degeneration in the body, you're going to have lots of, solvents, virus, in the system that's going to irritate the skin. So you have rashes and irritation in those areas. That doesn't mean that you get circumcised and you cut your dick off. It means you eat properly. That's all.
Can I touch on that?
Hypothyroid, there's lots of lots of what? Glands. If you eat the thyroid gland, that's very helpful. But if you don't have access to a thyroid gland, which is the best,
What about
then you need to eat
iodine?
enough protein and fats together. Especially a combination of butter and cream and liver would be a good combination to help produce thyroxine.
Wait.
You just thought you'd throw that one out there?
That's the end.
Can I add one more thing?
The tape.
To that?
Just a minute. Check out the ready.
Oh, I'll look for it now.
Did you use both tapes?
Wait a second.
She asked about freckles and brown spots. Freckles and brown spots are fine.
From the sun.
You know, they're not from the sun. What it is it's a form of endometriosis. You have glandular cells that no longer can produce hormones. They're still live cells can act as skin cells. So the body takes them out of the gland and sends them to the skin. And then when you get sunshine, those cells, because they're more fatty prone or higher in fat, can absorb the sun's rays and allow you to absorb a lot more vitamin D. So having freckles and brown spots is an advantage. Is an advantage. Unless you're black, then you're already got the greatest thing ever.
Spots when we're younger, we don't have as much as when we're older. They call them age spots. What's the...
That's again the glands.
It surfaces later when we're older?
The body starts throwing off glands that don't produce hormones or prostaglandins out to the skin. So, most people don't eat enough protein to reproduce cells. So the body wants to use every live cell in the body and not destroy it. Even if it can't function as a gland cell anymore, it still functions as a good skin cell.
What about iodine for underactive thyroid?
Iodine is a toxic poisonous substance.
You give that to pregnant women,
Absolutely, it's a poison.
Well, it may be for a lot, but not just a little bit.
Oh Yes, it is.
I mean,
It's
doesn't
always-
the thyroid need iodine?
Yeah, you just need some zucchini juice. That's all. You've got zinc and iodine in almost everything. And if it's raw and you haven't cauterized the iodine or chemically, treated it like in iodized salt, you need very little iodine to make it. The pharmaceutical house got into selling iodine. They always look for some so-called active ingredient, and it's all about the marketing. Is what? Dulse. That's pretty good. That's a good source of it.
Don't
But
you
don't
get,
cook it.
but don't the glands get to work back after a while, some of them? Like any
Yeah,
of the
they
thyroids?
will. Yeah.
So don't go back,
It takes time.
yeah.
Everything takes time. There's no magic bullets.
Back to this question, like when they tell women you go into your gynecologist and they tell you have a yeast infection and they give you that Mysolex 7 or whatever, what is Mysolex? What is in that? Do you know what's in that?
It
stuff that they
destroys
give you?
yeast. It destroys any live fungi.
So what is it? Is it
It's an antifungal.
antifungal?
It's a poison. It will kill your cells along with the fungus. But you've got a yeast infection because you've got sugar toxins that are discharging to the female organs. It doesn't mean you should get rid of them.
Right.
You just
Well,
need
when
to
I
eat
was
properly.
younger, I used
Yeah.
to
Well,
get
everybody
yeast infections.
has
I don't anymore, but
Yeah.
so they would always give me that stuff, and I was wondering if I'm now detoxing some of that stuff out of my body.
You'll detox it for years.
Some people put live yogurt there. Would that be good?
Yeah, that's fine. Well, what that does is keep the odor out. Because your yeasts that are feeding on toxic substances usually have a foul odor. Then when you put the fresh bacteria in there with the odor to keep her, it eats that and keeps the odor down.
Is there any way is there a lab that we can use to test things if we'd like to?
$2,000 minimum, $2,200 minimum per test. And they go all the way up to $8,000.
80?
You pay that.
80,000.
8,000.
You pay that.
I've
You can go
been
to
paying, I
Thailand.
paid over $1 million in the years that I've been researching.
We got atomic absorption.
Pardon?
Atomic absorption or spectrum analysis.
So all kinds of spectrum analysis. I've got a good lab in Missouri that I go to. I've got a good working relationship. The guy that I had over here in the valley for about 18, 19 years, he died about 7 years ago. And I couldn't do anybody else to do it here.
Should have bought your own spectrum.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You can buy used. I can get you used ones.
What, 80,000?
No.
You get them for less?
Oh
Yeah, but that's only one test. I need to do many different
yeah. Well,
tests.
some of the range you want.
Like you guys do so, like, because I have kind of this son with really bad eczema. And like, the skin is like healing. If you took that skin into a lab, would they see chemicals in the skin?
You have to ask to see chemicals. See, when you go to a doctor, when they send it to a lab, they ask for microorganisms. They want to know the value, the quantity, the types of organic organisms. That's what they're looking for. They don't look for heavy metals. They don't look for toxicity. They don't look for medication byproducts. They don't want to know that. They want to blame they want to blame nature for disease when it's chemicals that are the problem. Like the woman that died a few months ago. I don't know, Kimberly. Does anybody know
Yes.
her? You know.
She died of?
She died of metal poisoning. But she came out in the form of breast cancer, and then metastasized to the lung and to the liver. At the end of the road, she kept her weight, maybe 15 pounds overweight, which wasn't enough for her situation. Because when she got into her vomiting phase, she didn't make it through the vomiting phase. She couldn't eat. And she didn't have enough weight to take her through that. And I had 2 of her vomits analyzed, And the laboratory called me and said, somebody's poisoning this client of yours. And I said, why? And they said, it has 3,000 times the lethal dose of thallium in it. Thallium. It's a metal that's like, it's almost as soft as lead and almost as toxic as mercury. And I said, this woman was a jewelry maker. And she didn't use any mask and any gloves. And she worked with, metal, non-precious metals, for 7 years like that. And I said, is your sister dumping it? And she will either make it or not make it. She didn't make it. Didn't make it. See, now, a doctor would have never looked for that. They're looking for the cancer cells are the problem. That's not the problem. The poisons that cause the cancer to grow are the problem. How do you identify that? If you identify that, then we start throwing out industry and blaming industry. And then you can start filing lawsuits and then against the medical profession, against everybody, and what's going to happen? Society's going to fall. So they're not looking to do that.
Do you know someone that will do that? Like,
Yeah, I know a laboratory that will do it. But, I have a PhD now, and they just started doing it for me in the last, 5 months. So now I've got a laboratory doing it for me again. But it's taken me a long time to find a laboratory.
You still have to pay if you have a PhD?
Oh, yeah, they don't do anything for free.
I thought they work it out because of the degree.
No, what's a degree pay them? They have to do all the work, and they have the machinery.
They charge twice as much as you.
Do you have a dentist you can recommend?
I use one in Mexico because I don't use...
Someone local?
The
No.
Mercury, you gave me someone. You emailed me someone. He's in Rubin.
Maybe somebody gave the name to me, but I don't know anybody. I don't go to dentists in America because they won't do what I want.
I wanted to ask a little bit about the mercury. If one's going to have it done, it's going to have a lot of fat before you have the procedure.
Yep.
Otherwise it can be very dangerous.
And I certainly wouldn't do it as thin as you are. I'd gain 10 pounds before I'd have something like that done. And then you can lose it, a couple of weeks after, maybe 3-4 weeks after.
There's a dentist that's connected with Western Price.
There are lots of dentists that Western Price can. The Western Price has a list. You pay $6 or $7 for it, maybe $10 now, and they give like a whole page of all these holistic dentists throughout the United States.
You don't think
Pardon?
you don't think they are?
Holistic dentists will still put the same Novocaine and Xylocaine and X-rays and do the same thing. They're just not putting the mercury in your mouth. But they do everything else the same. When I go to Mexico, there's no anything other than what I want done, and that's it.
My dentist, I put him off from x-rays. January when I go, he won't see me anymore because I won't want to do x-rays.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In this country,
So even the holistic dentist will say the same thing?
yeah, they'll say the same thing.
But if they don't use X-rays...
There's one in Beverly Hills, but I don't know if you want to pay.
I don't want them to find out. If I've got a problem and they can see it, that's what I want them to take care of, if I have a problem with it.
Tell me after traveling.
So who's your guy in Mexico?
Tomas Breton.
In Tijuana?
Tijuana.
Okay.
What's he called?
Britton. Tomas Breton.
Would you recommend Dr. Chicard on Beverly Hills?
I don't know Chicard, but I've met him, but, he's into the same stuff.
Because he has a thing that up above a gem that goes on,
And this
not
man,
X-ray.
this man will put a $2,000 gem and implant it in the tooth because he thinks it improves life. $2,000 diamond, they're implanted in your tooth.
He has something up above the ceiling.
Yeah, and he has all kinds of gadgets. I think he came from a different planet.
Yeah, he believes in that.
It's like the healing crystals.
Yeah. What's that? I've never seen any one of those clients any healthier than anybody else out there. So
James Stewart goes to
I don't
him.
have much credence to it.
James Stewart went there.
A bacterial infection in the vagina, without, how do you treat it with your diets?
Cider vinegar, don't you?
Well, no, I say in the book it's preferable to use the kefir. All right, folks, I think, what time is it? 5 o'clock yet? Okay.
Thank you very much.
The next one will take place in Venice at Nathan's house.
Right.
On Venice Boulevard on the beach.
Right.
And it won't be until
February?
February.
February what?
I don't know yet. I haven't decided. It'll probably be around the 11th, 4th or the 11th. No, that's a Saturday. So that'd be the 5th or the 12th
The 5th or the
of
12th.
February. But I will send out the announcement.
Could I still do the...
They're all chemicals. They're not a supplement.
Exactly. So have a like standard process.
Still chemicals.
Still chemical too.
Still chemicals.
They claim that the whole food and they grow it on their farm.
Yeah, but once you extract it from food, it's no longer food.
I had it in my purse. I just couldn't find it. I got the matter of finding it.
Okay. I see.